Hello, Core 3 Beauties. This is Marcos, and this is our week 11 going to week 12 recap briefing video. So let's check out what we've got to do so that we stay on track with our projects and we plan well as we head in towards the holidays and lots of projects going on in your other classes. I want to make sure you're all clear on what you need to be doing. We had a good week this week with reviewing the finalization of our brand identities, and everyone's got good concepts overall for your design for good brands and have developed your logos really well. And some of you still need to finalize, and some of you are a little further behind than maybe you should be, but I know you can catch up now in the next couple of days so that you can now switch your focus onto designing the two main components of your project, the analog and digital component. So let's check out what our workflow is for the coming week. So if you haven't yet, we're going to complete our brand logos, our brand identity standards, and our base touch points. And with those base touch points, the idea with that was to just create pieces that are relevant to your brand that can kind of show what the brand would look like within context of different kind of pieces, whether they're merch pieces or corporate identity pieces or signage or even some digital examples. But just what would be good is if you make a good solid gridded page of images that show a variety of things that when you see your logo and then you see that page, you can get in your mind this idea that this is a brand that has come to life and is branded in kind of a variety of different places, so that when you go into your two main pieces, you've already got a sense of the brand being kind of a real thing. So work on that, and I can give feedback to each of you individually. But we're going to do that, and then we're going to create our next step, which is going to be to take on the analog and digital pieces. And I'm going to review what those should be coming up here in a few minutes in detail from Casper's brief. But basically, the idea is that we each need to create an analog and digital piece that are hefty design pieces that will be the kind of stars of this whole thing. I know we put a lot of focus on creating these brand concepts and the identity, and that is the foundation of these projects. But the real stars are going to be these two pieces you're going to work on next over the course of the rest of the semester. So we're going to switch to that, and the idea is going to be that I'm going to have you both create kind of both to start with, like the initial design concepts for both, just to get started, to kind of like see the two of them in a basic form and maybe just a few iterations of it. And then from there, I'm going to have you determine which one is the best piece to kind of focus on as the first piece, and then follow it up with the second piece. And then next week, the way we're going to handle classes, we're going to have on Tuesday, we'll have everyone meet together, and we'll do small group reviews with one-on-one sessions with me as one of the small groups. It doesn't have to be one-on-one. It could be groups of people coming to see me. And then on Thursday, we're going to have a work day where everyone can work in their own spaces and be productive while having a one-on-one check-in review with me, which I'll send a schedule out next week. If anybody has any specific needs, email me before Wednesday if you want to be a certain part of the schedule. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of what I decide. Okay, so let's just look at a broader view of the rest of the semester. And we can see that we are finishing week 11 and heading over to our second column where Design Sally student is wandered over. And here it shows that we're going to have our group class. And actually, let's go to the next page where we changed this. So we have one-on-one meetings on Thursday. And then let's just look ahead. We're going to be working on our print and design projects over week 13, 14, and 15 with final reviews on 16. So it's getting tight, and week 13 is a Thanksgiving holiday. So there's potential for that to be some time lost, or there's a potential for that to be extra time to work on your project. But I don't want to assume that, because I think it's important you guys take a break, and especially on Thanksgiving, be grateful and think about things that you're grateful for, and rest and recuperate. But it's a long weekend, so hopefully you can do more than that and work on your project here. So final presentations will be on week 16, and we'll talk more about that coming soon in a future class or video. But again, let's just look at the bigger picture even further. Here we have kind of our arch for our class that has beauty at the top on the, overarching everything. And let's not forget that that's been our kind of prompt or our sort of perspective throughout this class, is that we're looking for beauty and we're looking for our ability to collaborate with reality to find beauty in the world, and that our project objectives overall should be to bring beauty out in a way that will lead towards human flourishing. And this is where we're marching towards. You see, design student Sally has now made her way over towards the descending part of the rainbow, and we're now working on our two main analog and digital pieces for the rest of the semester. So let's go downhill in a good way as fast as we can to get down to the human flourishing goal. All right, so I want to bring back the brief that Casper wrote for all the cohorts so that we can remember what it is that he was hoping to get out of this class or out of this project. And at the same time, with that asterisk that I've been putting on this, that we can kind of fudge things around a little bit, and I'll identify those. But I think it's the best is just to read this with you, so we can be reminded, so that when you're planning this, you don't mistakenly not do it right, because there's a lot of kind of options. So the overview: with your reflections on what went successfully and unsuccessfully on project 1 and 2 in mind, you will again conceive of an entire system of graphic output for that as a strong identity and visually coherent. For the final project, you have the freedom to choose the type of mediums for this output: print, digital, spatial. So we're having the option between, it's actually 2, with print and spatial kind of being the same thing and digital being the second. Content, you may choose to reuse content or create. So we don't have to read that because we've already decided what our content is. So deliverables: at least 2 components that span different mediums united through a distinct and cohesive visual system. So we've created our distinct and cohesive visual system and our cause and our purpose, and now we're making the components. One medium must be physical, print or spatial, and the second medium must be digital, interaction or motion. So those are the 2 choices, and there's variations in those choices. A concept and design presentation that includes the visual identity system. So we've already done that part. So now we're kind of working our way sort of backwards in his order. Parameters: concept. Your set of outputs should have a strong and clear theme. We've got that. Consider your audience overall experience across different platforms. Visual identity. So we've done the visual identity, so we don't have to read that. Let's go on to the next page. Mediums. 2 media. You are to work in at least 2 mediums, one that is analog and a second that is digital. Consider the benefits and weaknesses of each medium and how they offer opportunities for translation of idea and content. Embrace the particular material of each medium. The parameters for the outputs you choose are listed below. All right, so here's where we're making the choice between the 2 mediums. We're doing both, but it sounds like one shouldn't be like superior to the other. It sounds like they both need to be big, strong pieces. Analog mediums, choose one. So editorials, first choice: print, physical publications, books, magazines, series, publication, etc. At least 5 different stories, visual, written, that connect to your concept. So wait, it says you can include at least 5 different stories. Let's see. Whoa, where did that come from? So that makes me a little nervous. 5 different stories. Does it have to be 5 different stories? Well, calm down, emoji. We should follow the spirit of this idea. It doesn't have to literally be 5 different stories, because who knows what you're doing. But I would take the idea of creating a publication with 5 different stories as a standard of the amount of content that you should be going for. Does it literally have to be 5 different stories? No, but it should be in the same weight class, we'll call it, if we were boxing, as 5 different story magazine or book. So just consider that as meaning this needs to be kind of like a good substantial piece. You compare your text and visuals from different sources into one story. All right, so B, include a cover, the table of contents, masthead, colophon, at least 2 large features and 3 smaller stories. Again, that's the 5 things. So base it on what works best for your piece, but it should have that kind of heft. The form of these elements can be reinterpreted. The publication or set of publications should contain, in aggregate, at least 48 pages. Okay, we definitely should have an emoji there, but I didn't see that. Okay, so again, 48 pages. No one's going to count pages. It's going to be about you understanding that you need to make like a piece that's the equivalent of a 5-story, 50-page publication. All right, and of course, that's left to interpretation, and there's no measuring guide, but we will agree on it as we work towards this. Just I'm going to encourage you to make sure you're making it nice and hefty, and that's why I was criticizing. Don't think you can just get to do a few postcards and a pamphlet or two, and have that consider your print piece. That will break the A making machine, and we do not want to break the A making machine because it makes A so easily, as long as you don't mess it up. All right, so C, the publication or set of publications should contain it. Okay, just read that. D, the form and production of the print pieces should align with the concept, paper size, binding, etc. Okay, so the form. Here we're implying that we should be printing these pieces, and I'm all for it. But I'm not going to put that as a criteria for our class. I'd be happy to have a beautiful mock-up on the screen in your presentation that pages through your publication. Doesn't have to literally page through, but shows your spreads in a well-designed big format that puts right in front of your piece and takes you through it. If you want to print it out, great, but my focus is on the design of itself. I don't think that's in line with the spirit of this project, but I'm going to go on a limb and just say that's okay. But I will encourage you to print it because I think there's something very satisfying about that. So let's do both if we can, but no mental breakdowns if you don't. All right, let's go into spatial. This is still under analog. Detailed renderings are an intervention experience or exhibition. So basically some kind of exhibition in a real space. Spatial strategy and a breakdown of the programmatic use of the space, layout and design of the information in the space, sample floor plan with intended movements of users, elevation drawings of the spaces, realistic renderings of the spaces. So basically it's for you to propose an exhibit of some sort and for it to have kind of a multifaceted proposal of how that will work, from floor plans to renderings of the space itself. I know many of you talked about using AI to create spaces, great. But if you're going to choose spatial, it's got to be the equivalent of like a 48-page 5-story magazine. You got to make it good. You got to make it like in depth. You spent time and you dove into this. All right, now let's move into the second choice, the digital mediums. And there's a couple of things. Motion or interaction are the options. So motion, a substantial motion piece that is made for a specific context. Okay, so substantial motion piece. So just that's a little subjective, so we have to just make sure that we're not doing some little GIF and thinking that that's enough. It's got to be more intricate than that. A dynamic system of smaller motion graphics that express the identity or narrative of your concept. This may include a main title treatment or event teaser, a dynamic poster, main stage graphics, or any additional content to support your design concept, like animated speakers, slides. So I think this falls in line with what many of you guys did in your digital projects for project 2. So kind of use that as a basis. And then interactive, and this is probably the more popular one. Website or app must be built fully coded and high fidelity clickable prototype. So doesn't have to be a working app, it doesn't have to be a working website, but it has to be a visual presentation that pretty much puts you in that experience. And I encourage you to use Figma to make dynamic presentations that show your app or your website being interacted with. And many of you did amazing versions of this, so we all know what this looks like. Include at least 5 different stories, visual or written, that connect to your concept. Okay, so there it is. We got the eyeballs, 5 different stories. So okay, again, this is giving us a context. Include at least 5 different stories, visual or written, that connect to your concept. So basically the idea is, if you're making an app, if you're making a website, this sort of 5-section idea is the standard that you want to be reaching. It's got to have that kind of sort of level of content. Include clear and consistent navigation, masthead, colophon, at least 2 large features and 3 small stories. Again, context. The form of these elements can be reinterpreted. Should define whether the experience is desktop, tablet, or mobile. select the type of experience you should align with the concept. So yeah, just kind of make a very specific experience. All right, so that is what Casper has outlined for us. And basically now I need you to consider all that and create 2 distinct strategies for your projects that align with the level of work that's being asked for here. Now you might say, can I do an app and a website? Like, I am open to like breaking it up into pieces, but the pieces should come together for each project to be the equivalent of this kind of level of work. So we'll work that out in our individual meetings or on our group sessions next week, but think this through and do not come up with some small little print piece and some digital, website and think that it's enough. It's got to be, both of them have to be substantial. All right. Okay, so I put all this on the canvas, and the blue one is literally what we just read together, minus the emojis. I've made a new Google Drive box for us to put our projects in for this coming week for our design concept proposals, and that's basically it. So let me know if anybody has any questions, and those of you still working on your brand identities, reach out to me, send me emails, I'll give you feedback. But it's time now to like go into high gear and really start working on it. Let's not squander this next week, because we got a holiday week coming up. Let's get a lot done. Like, I don't want you running out of time and not having enough work done. Like, as I said in class, all of you've got great, incredible brand concepts that propose ways to do design for good. And the tragedy here will be is if you don't use the next 3 or 4 weeks to really focus on this project, to put in the time to put out the work that's going to make your projects be extremely high level. We can do this. We've showed it with our first 2 projects, and now you have within your reach the ability to make 2 incredible pieces for your portfolio. They're going to really reflect your skill sets and your passion for design. So let's do it. And I'm here to help support. All right, we will see everybody next Tuesday, and have a productive week, and see you later.